Let's call to order. That's right, we don't have to read any or any of that. Thank you. No remarks this morning because I think we have a pretty full agenda. So I will hold those for next week's board meeting. Do we have any public comment? None. Great.
I think you need to take a
roll call. I know, yeah, I know. I'm sorry, I did jump right past that, didn't I? Roll call, please.
Member Petrowski.
Here.
Vice Chair Chaplin. Here. Member Hart.
Here.
Member LaPlante.
Here.
Member Chavez. Here. Chair Rutledge.
Here. Thank you. Any public comment, Jennifer?
Not this time.
Okay, thank you. For parent committee approval, on action item packaging, extended producer responsibility in Illinois proposal to Illinois Product Stewardship Council, $3,000. Joy, you want to refresh our memory just a bit on this one?
Absolutely. So at our last meeting, Walter Willis with the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County presented this extended producer responsibility project targeting legislation for packaging. The ultimate goal would be to have the manufacturers of the packaging funding recycling of their own packaging that they create. The benefit that I think this committee came up with was that it would force manufacturers to really redesign their packaging. It promotes package development, design of packages that can be recycled in everybody's recycling system. It would also allow downstate where there is no curbside recycling, so it would create a system for them as well. So thereby just increasing statewide recycling.
And there's quite a process that's going to follow after with this too. So you'll be hearing a lot more of this. I think it's a wonderful initiative. So Liz, did you have something you want to add?
Did we, so for today's purposes, are we going to be supporting this item and have the legislative committee then support it? Great.
So what, I'm sorry, I should explain that. So at the last meeting, he presented the concept. This committee asked for a proposal. So the Product Stewardship Institute did provide the proposal that is in your packet, which lays out the multiple meetings and such, the strategy behind drafting the legislation and hopefully getting legislation passed. The $3,000 contribution would be DuPage County's contribution to sit on the team that is creating this legislation and working with the stakeholders.
And that could go up, but we'll just see how it plays out, right? Okay, great. Yep.
Correct. Yeah, the ultimate goal is $50,000 between all of the partners.
Good.
The Solid Waste Agency of Lake County is looking at 3 for this fiscal year, 10 in 2022. Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County is also looking at 3 and 10. Chicago, I don't have an amount yet, but they're approaching them as well. West Cook County Solid Waste Agency, and Will County, and then City of Aurora.
Great. Yeah, it's a good initiative.
Great, thanks. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have a change order for Trade B Environmental Services to decrease and close PO 4863.
So
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. That item carries. Next, a discussion of our proposed 2022 revised general fund environmental programs budget.
Okay, so at our August 6th meeting, Michelle, you can go next slide. We presented this committee with our general fund ask. This is our traditional funding that we receive from the general fund, broken down by project. Next slide. At the last meeting, we came to the committee and requested this additional funding for these additional projects. There was a lot of discussion around the dishware, the alternatives for dishware services. So next slide. We talked again with dining services, and dining services said they're having some issues with supply chain, with packaging as well as food at the moment, and that even prices for foam are currently increasing. He also did tell me that they had a previous pilot where they used one of the, I believe it was a sugarcane packaging and they were having trouble with people taking it back to their office. And if it was something that was liquidy, it would actually like dissolve the packaging. So next slide, we went back to the drawing table and said, it might be better to do a full scale study, take our time with Diamond Services and actually have a consultant come in, look at what they're using, look at the opportunity to go with greener options, to pursue composting, and look at the whole gamut. We have an estimate of about $35,000 for that study. And then we said, you know, while we're looking at the funding, we could also solicit a firm to help with Rutledge's effort to provide waste hauling in the unincorporated areas. We do in 2022 owe the state of Illinois our solid waste management plan 5-year update. So we were looking at hiring in a consulting firm to really take a look. We haven't done that in about, I think it's been 12 or 15 years. One of our, I think it was 15 years ago, we actually hired someone to just get some data for us. Now there is more data available, but someone that could actually synthesize it for us. We were talking about, Chair Rutledge has been talking about doing some PSAs for some topic areas. Propane tanks was one of our priorities in our strategic plan for this year. So we were hoping to maybe up that and look at some solutions. And then we had the sign recycling program. And then our document shredding program has been amazing. We have every year had additional, we've actually had a waiting list. So we were looking at another $1,500 just to accommodate all of our asks. So that's what we wanted to talk about today, to see where this committee was with A, lowering the amount, and then B, doing some of these alternatives.
Any questions, anybody? Yes, Liz.
Thank you, Chair Rutledge. So I really do like the idea of having a study done. I remember back when Tony McGlasty was chair of the environmental committee, you see the styrofoam chalkboards down there with all that on there. That was his initiative. And I know this styrofoam has been a huge issue, a topic with this committee for a long time. I think it's a great idea to do a really in-depth study and have people come and look and see, you know, what are the best ways? Maybe, you know, like a hospital and having all dishes and, you know, silverware and glasses and things like that, or maybe some other alternative product. But I think it's a good, I like that option. I'm really happy to see, because I was just talking with Paula in the elevator up here about public community outreach and community campaigns. So I think that's a really great initiative. I think we probably get the biggest bang for our buck by having these little public service announcements about recycling and how to recycle, because a lot of people don't understand how to recycle batteries or propane tanks, and they don't know that you can't recycle plastic bags. So I like this new plan. I am in favor of it.
Thank you. Well, and I'm going to keep talking about, you know, when can we stop putting things in landfills?
Absolutely.
And, you know, I'm going to become kind of militant about that, I think.
Do we, because we do have our recycle, we do put the styrofoam in a separate bin. Now, what do we do with that? Does that go to a recycle facility, or?
It does. We take it out to the DART facility,
okay,
where they compacted, I forget the word for it. Yeah, it gets compacted into these styrofoam bricks, and I actually have one on my desk.
Oh, and then do they reuse them for other things?
And they do, it's then taken to the recycling plant, and it's made into like wall trim and frames and other things that they can make.
Well, and you know, and I mean, I was just out of state, believe it or not, Florida. And but there are some very progressive parts of Florida. And you know, when we were in this one community, they had bins, trash bins that had one side for paper, and it showed you all the paper, and then it had another side for styrofoam, which it showed your egg containers, your all throughout the whole city. So if you had your egg container, you go, you know, right down the street and just throw all your styrofoam in a recycle bin right there. So they made it very convenient, right? So like I said, through the education, there's, you know, lots of great opportunities for us to encourage for now, right? Until we can.
Well, I'd like to get away from foam altogether.
I would too.
But if we're so encumbered with that, then let's try to be more responsible about it. So, Amy, did you have a question first?
I did.
So if you don't mind, and then, so on that first one, I'm in agreement. I think it's a great way to go as far as doing the study, but I know the gentleman that was here at the last meeting mentioned, I think he was from Lake
County.
Mm-hmm. He mentioned that they were going to be doing a study themselves. I'm wondering if we could pair up a little, because I bet theirs wouldn't be that much different from what we're looking at. So I wonder if we might have some sort of cost savings there if we kind of joined efforts with some other counties, but I don't know how easy that would be to do, or if that's something that's realistic.
Good question.
I did talk to him about that, and he is open to that concept. However, he did say that they're not at the point where they've actually issued a request for proposals for that project. He did get pricing from a contractor that's helping them with another project to the tune of $75,000, but we don't think it's going to cost. We've interviewed, I talked to a couple other consulting firms that do similar work, and they were in the $30,000 range. So, okay. So yes, absolutely.
Great idea.
I'm hoping we can. Okay. Because I think you're right. Economies of scale of keeping people.
I agree. And just sharing information, I think, amongst our color counties just creates that goodwill and leadership that we all.
Walter has been wonderful about that. So
great. Well, thank you that you looked into that.
Thanks. Lynn.
Thank you, Chair Rutledge. Totally agreeing with what Member Chavez just said and piggybacking on that. I thought one of his most interesting comments when he was describing everything, I said, well, this could really change. You're looking to really change, I was going to say the environment for like a bad pun, but meaning the perception of how we recycle in large organizations such as a county. And he said exactly. So I do think it's important that we keep that higher, broader perspective, is that this is the start of sort of sweeping changes and new ways of going about things. And I think it's fantastic if we can partner up in any way we can, because Lake is very similar in size to DuPage, so that would be helpful. The other idea I had is things just as simple as all of our, coffee cups. I always bring one in.
I know, I'm sorry.
And it's okay. I'm totally stealing my husband's idea. He couldn't stand watching all of the, disposable coffee cups that everyone was using in his office. So he they made everyone their own, what is this? Yeah, thank you. Yeti mug. Like this is how we did our beautiful masks.
It's a Tuesday morning after a 3-day weekend. Don't lie.
No, I was serious because
I've only drank this much of it. When I get to here, I'll be able to say the word. But yeah, put the seal on it, like our beautiful masks. Like maybe we could do something like that, so that for
idea.
Water and coffee, it's, you just could bring it in, either bring it home and wash it, bring it back, or leave it, drop it in the kitchen on your way out. And it's clean in the morning, right? So anyway, an idea of one way to mitigate the waste that we ourselves are producing here.
And we did do that years ago, 2010, I think, with our energy efficiency conservation block grant funding. We worked with dining services. We had a big green mug that was actually compliant with what they needed in the care center as well, that we distributed to employees here. So it was a great program, great project. They did offer a discount for refills. They still offer that discount for refills. Okay. We do have that plug in the new employee orientation program, where we're telling all new employees, bring in your mug, you get that discount. We just haven't found a mug that we necessarily have the funding to give to all employees.
Yeah.
But I love the idea.
Yeah.
So we can, start looking into that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Great. And yes, great.
thank you. And I'll just agree with everyone. I think if there's a way to find some efficiencies with the Lake County study, that's great. Other than that, I think these alternative projects look fantastic. I'm looking forward to discussing them. One thing I do not want to lose sight of, and I know it's going to be a little bit longer of a runway, but Chair Rutledge, Nick, and Joy had a discussion on eventually moving the county to a plan for net zero. I know that's going to be a little bit longer of a runway. We have a power plant that we have to figure out what to do with. But in that case, I'd like to see that as a project moving forward.
Absolutely.
Love to work with you on it, and knowing that it won't be finished this year, I think it's something that we got.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever talked about it at committee, but that's a great thing to put on the radar, Joy, for any opportunity we can have to advance those kind of ideas. I like that too. Thank you, Greg, for reminding us of that. Anybody else? Any comments? Great. Thank you, everyone. We don't need any vote or anything on there, right?
No, that was just a special vote.
Yeah.
We did skip the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we did. Could I have a motion for approval?
So
of minutes? Man, I'm sorry, it is Tuesday after a 3-day weekend. Woo. All in favor?
Aye.
No changes or questions? Thanks, everybody. None opposed? That carries. Then next, our educational partner, Scares. Kay McKean.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm not sure where the button is, or if somebody else wants to be joining. You want to push the button?
You need
Oh,
to just
okay.
ask
Wave
Michelle
to Michelle.
So I'll go this way. So you guys, we have 2 upcoming flag ceremonies. Elmhurst Library has been working really, really hard. Done some amazing things. Their lending library, there's nothing like it. You can check out a waffle iron. You can check out tools. Their entire basement is tools and sewing machines. You can come in and use items, but you can also check items out. It is spectacular. We're hoping to hold a workshop there for other libraries to come and see what they're doing. I'm asking if they have time before their meeting, before the flag ceremony, to show. I know Sheila will be there, I'll be there. If anybody wants to see this basement, it is extraordinary. They took a dead space that was just storage. They put in LED lights, and it is just incredible. So we're hoping to help. Already got Wheaton Library that would like to attend. And then, so that's coming up September 21st. And York High School, this is their Earth flag coming up 7:40 in the morning. This flag ceremony, they do it a little different at the high school. We'll be presenting it to the staff, and then their environmental club will be presenting it to the students later that week. So kind of nice. And if you've been near York High School, we helped them get a grant from Lowe's, and they took out all the invasives around their entire school. In one Saturday, we had over 200 volunteers. They built outdoor composting bins, they built raised beds, they took out the invasives, they planted natives, they got lead-free garden hoses. I mean, they took over the outside. They did an extraordinary effort. So anyway, if you guys can attend those, that would be great. Go ahead.
Can I just say York is almost always perennially at the top of the sustainability challenges too. So they're doing great things there.
Yeah, Bob Blouse and I have been friends since he taught at St. Edward's in Elgin. And he was on our board for 17 years. So yeah, he's a dynamo.
Nice.
So Lynn, last meeting you were talking about education and those kinds of things. So I thought I would just address some of that. So the state of Illinois was, the legislator came up with the Illinois Materials Management Advisory Committee, Commission of Council, whatever. And I was asked to be one of 37 members. I was the only not-for-profit that was asked to be on this committee. So there were Chamber of Commerce and marketing, manufacturers and county officials, and all kinds of people, but there were 37. It was a 1.5-year commitment to look at reducing solid waste, to work on reuse, composting, and things like that. So go ahead. So I was chairman of the Education and Outreach Committee, and Rose on our team, she and I did a tremendous amount of research. So Liz, when you're bringing up Florida, that was one of the states that we studied a whole lot. They have no numbers. A lot of the projects, Michigan has some great projects, but COVID interrupted a lot of the projects. So there's no numbers, but we like their approach a whole lot. So go ahead. So there's a lot of challenges in recycling, you guys. Go ahead. These are pictures. The first one is Wheaton, a styrofoam cooler, a laundry basket, and then a plastic bag, whether it's garbage or recycling. On the far left, I don't know. The next one is a bookshelf, a wicker basket, and an unflattened cardboard box. That's in Glen Ellen. And the third one is in Willowbrook. You can't really tell which one is recycling because there's plastic bags. I think the one on the left is the recycling one because the cardboard's flattened, but you really can't tell. So there's a lot of contamination. Some of our cities are way over the 25%. Haulers don't really want to tell you what percent is contamination because it makes them look bad. And anyway, so go ahead, next one. Lots of changes. So caps on or caps off of plastic containers, you guys. It has gone back and forth and back and forth. We have a hauler here in DuPage County that still all their literature says no plastic caps. When the plastic industry wants the plastic caps, it gives them a second kind of plastic. They don't become litter at the MRFs. So which is it? You know, so it's hard for residents trying to do the right thing, and the changes are kind of constant. You may remember, some of us are old enough, a long time ago, it was just newspapers could be recycled. You had to pull out the magazine, the glossies, and you had to pull out the color comics. Now, of course, we want all that stuff in there. So things keep changing, and it's hard for residents to keep up with the changes, even if they're trying to do a good job. Go ahead. So what's recyclable in your community may not be recyclable in another community. So you can drive by and you can see that Villa Park accepts clothing in plastic bags. So right away, we already tell people no plastic bags in the recycling bins. And then you drive through Villa Park, and it's a great program if you know what you're doing. But other people driving through, oh yeah, you can't put plastic bags in your recycling bin. Oh yeah, they do take clothing. It's the only town that does that, okay? So it's really hard when you drive through towns and see something that's not accepted in your program. I don't know if I made a slide. So we had a hauler that was they wanted pots and pans, okay? So to you and I, if you read pots and pans, it's pots and pans, but that led people to put in grills. Okay, so grills. Now, when he drives by, they see a grill in your recycling bin. Oh, you can put grills in your recycling bin, right? So it's very confusing for residents who are trying to do a good job. If you're not trying to do a good job, well, then you don't really care. But if you're trying, it's confusing. Go ahead. So it was West Chicago, and they were taking pots and pans, and then they got grills, and then they got propane tanks. And we were with their hauler, and he was just like exasperated because they did clip art. They did a really good job educating people, and then they got grills, and then the grills lead to the propane tanks. So it's hard, you guys. It's hard for the haulers. They're trying to win a contract, so they're going to say we're taking more than another hauler might be taking, which sounds good to you, but then it's very hard for the haulers, and it's hard for the residents as well. Go ahead. So then Flood Brothers, it has a flyer that tells people, no, take the labels off. And one of my staff members got one of their flyers, and there's no industry is asking people to take the labels off.
Labels off of what?
All their plastic containers.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been doing that. Like yogurt cups and.
Well, yogurt cups, the metal lid, yes. But you don't have to take off the plastic. There are companies now who are making it perforated, so you can. But Flood Brothers is the only one telling people. So we must have gotten. It started in Carroll Street. I can't tell you how many phone calls in that week we got just about, are you kidding me? We have to take the labels off again. So it makes people then angry and not want to participate when that happens. So it's really hard. And their flyer wants you to take labels off of everything. So it's confusing, and it makes people want to stop. They throw their hands up and say, forget it. So go ahead. So we were looking at things that are confusing. So black plastics, they may have the right number. They may be a #1 plastic, but no markets want black plastic. So the MRFs, they get black plastic, and people go, so the right number. But in order for something to be recyclable, you have to have the technology to recycle it, and you have to have a market for it. And there is no market for black plastic. So how dark plastic, those mushroom containers, right? So how dark is dark that they have no markets for? So we have to have the sorting technology. We've got to have the transportation, logistics. Joe was talking about folks in Southern Illinois. Yep, that's hard. And then you've got to have somebody who wants it. Now, tomorrow you may have a company that says they want all the dark plastics. They want the Hershey squeezed chocolate, and they want the brown mushroom and the black bottoms from the South. But right now it's no. So can you imagine how hard it is for residents trying to do a good job? They look, it's got the number. There's even the plastic industry that wants to take all the numbers off the plastics. Because the plastic number doesn't mean it's recyclable. It just tells you what kind of plastic it is. So that's how confusing it is, even for the plastic industry, you guys. Go ahead. So go back one, sorry. So what we did is we studied Florida a lot, Michigan a lot. Their raccoons are very, very popular. We talked about having different color squirrels because, only Illinois has white squirrels. And so anyway, we talked a lot about a lot of different things. But one of the things that we really liked in Florida was one item. So flyers, PR, YouTubes, whatever, on one item. No plastic bags. Not a page with, 6 things on it, a flyer with 1 thing, no plastic bags. They really would like to help the MRFs get the stuff that brings in the most money. So if you saw the news last night, aluminum prices are very high. What if we had a campaign in Illinois to get every aluminum can into a recycling bin? How much would that reduce our CO2? How much would that reduce our energy? You know, MRFs would make money to help them pay for the black plastics that then they have to landfill, right? So they talked a lot about one issue. So they hired a marketing company to do flyers on 1 item. And of course they have no numbers because of COVID, but we really like that approach, 1 item only. So, and then now with social media being so good, you guys, I mean, we could do a, social media campaign, Facebook, whatever, and say, hey, everybody, for the month of October, let's try to get every aluminum can into a recycling bin. For the month of November, which is America Recycles Day, November 15th, let's try to get every steel tin can in. What if once a month through the county, through us, through everybody, we focused on 1 item? And if you start with the things that help, like steel, the prices for steel are finally way up again. It would help the MRFs. It would decrease garbage because people are focused on 1 thing. So have it in multiple languages, clip arts, whatever we need to do. So we really liked that project. And the thing that we like very much about Michigan's projects is they have those cute little raccoons, and who doesn't like a raccoon talking? And raccoons do pick things up and wash them. So wash it out and different things. So we did talk about, whoever brought that up, about using their marketer and bringing those ideas and share. Like it cost them $300,000, I think it was, in Michigan. What if as they adapt it and make it relevant as they have to keep changing it, what if we dovetailed with that? And so that is something to think about. We didn't get any farther than just talking to them about that. There were some really good projects. California had some nice things. Ohio had some nice things. Minnesota had some nice things. But those 2 states, I think we really liked what they were doing. So we are working on that idea of 1 item. Okay. So I don't know if you guys have any questions about that, but it was a daunting 1.5 years, and I can tell you, thank goodness for Rose on our team who did a lot of research for us. And then the legislator got that whole report July 1st. So then they'll be working with that. So, all right, next slide, sorry. Yeah.
Can I jump in with an idea about the 1 item a month? If we could do a mnemonic device for each month to make it so easy, so you know that like November is no aluminum.
Yep.
September is, I can't think.
Right.
But you know what I mean?
Styrofoam.
Styrofoam, exactly. Need more coffee. But yeah, something
I think
like
we
that.
all do this morning.
I think people would really get into that. And then it would also help our younger, like those really conscious high school students, elementary school students to get super into that and be able to participate.
Right.
And make it kind of like a little game somehow, right? And if you I mean, they do all those sorts of things all the time in town. If you participate, you go to the library or go to Scarce and get a stamp. And then at the end of the year, if you did it all, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of ideas. Right. I think there's a lot of ideas, and that's a simple one. It's just
so simple, right?
One thing that I would think too is oftentimes I don't think people understand what the result is at the end of contamination. So they don't wash out their peanut butter jars, or if you put all your recyclables in a big plastic bag, what happens is that whole thing just get put in the landfill? Because then I think people might realize all that work that they did, because it's just habit, for so many people to have their, at my house, I've got my trash and my recycle, and I know that, like, even though it's in a plastic bag, to go dump it in the trash, but I think a lot of people just are in the habit of like, tie up my trash, tie up my recycling, but they don't understand that if they do that, what's the result? So it might help if we had a campaign on, you're doing all the work, just do that very last step or something, so that result orientation.
That's a great kind of a title. So Waste Management has a really pretty short video that I really like, but it tells you no aerosol cans. I asked them why they did that, because they say they take aerosol cans. So they made their own video and then they say no aerosol cans. So it's like,
Now, is your goal with this conglomerate to get
just consistency across the board throughout Illinois, or what's
their goal? Yes,
Okay.
is consistency. I'm just one part of
yes,
that
I
puzzle.
know, yeah, but I think that would be
Yeah,
Okay.
and so especially like Joe was saying from Southern Illinois, you know, the glass is a long ways away. And glass is heavy, and yet we already gave them 3 projects to help them with the glass. So it was really nice to work with people across the state and share ideas.
Yeah.
But yeah, consistency, and especially our county. We are so fortunate in our county. We have a lot of recycling, you guys. We have a lot of garbage, and we should do a better job. We're
Because
trying.
I'm wondering if I put my black, we eat out probably too much because I don't love to cook. And so I'm wondering, like, when we get those black takeout containers, that's that black plastic, when I put it in there, is that a contaminant? Like, these are things that I don't know, and I try to be conscientious.
So we put it on our Facebook all the time. It's in our newsletter. We made a little video clip.
Yeah.
But again, things change, you guys. It's really hard, but we have to keep trying.
We do.
But, and I feel sorry for the restaurants, you guys. So their customers don't want styrofoam, so they stopped using styrofoam. Then they bought something compostable, only to find out that, yeah, it's compostable if you put it in your backyard, but you can't put it in your compost bin at the curb because they're only taking real food scraps and vegetable scraps and those kinds of things, okay? Because they take a little, so that they don't leak, they take a longer time to decompose, right? So yeah, you can buy compostables, but you can't put them in a compost bin. So that was frustrating. So then people went to the clear top with the black plastic bottom, only to find out the black's not recyclable. I got to tell you, they were just throwing their hands up like, oh, there's nothing we can do. The best thing really is the aluminum containers. Well, the aluminum containers that have just that paper top with that silver looking cardboard inside, that leaves you the least amount of garbage, and the aluminum is fully recyclable. So it's right. And then you heard last night that the aluminum prices were up, which means the aluminum of those containers are going to go way up. So you guys, there's a bunch of events coming up. I sure hope if you haven't been to Recycling Extravaganza, you will come and join us. Darien, Joy had a call from somebody in Darien with the Park District, and they'd like to hold one in the spring. And Naperville just contacted us, the Naperville Rotary After Dark, and they have added an event. We've got it October 23rd, so that's brand new too. We helped them a couple of years ago, and then COVID. And it's actually going to be held in Warrenville. So there'll be more information, but all these events are great places to see people trying to do the right thing. And I always say, thank people for coming. They don't have to come, you know. So that they care and that they come is pretty outstanding. So is that, I can't remember. Can you go ahead?
Last slide, is it?
Oh, good.
Okay. I just have one quick question about the inconsistency.
Yes.
Is there a way we can compile like the base all through DuPage County that you can count on this?
Throughout.
And promote, I know Kay's going, oh no, we can't.
Well, can't because the Flood Brothers with no lids. They want no lids on the plastic. So that just right there, it throws whatever towns have Flood Brothers out the window because the industry wants the lids.
Okay.
So it's really hard, but yes, we can do other.
We can just get a baseline that everybody can promote, and you know, I just think that's.
And I want to tell you guys something very exciting. You may know that I worked really hard on syringes, and we started a syringe program with the Glenside Fire Department with a grant. Roselle just called right before Labor Day. They're interested. The state of Illinois has some program like their drug take back. And so the Roselle Fire Department is going to do it. The police department's going to stay doing the drugs, RX. The fire department's going to do the syringes. We have 2 new towns joining us for pumpkins, Itasca and Lombard, so we're thrilled about that. And we've written 2 grants to help residents with smoke detectors. The hazardous waste site can't take smoke detectors. That's radioactive waste, and we're trying to have that. And we're trying to have that hooked up because October is, you know, check your smoke detector. So we're trying to have that hooked up, and one of the grants is just for us to be a collector. Not to announce it, but people call us all the time. Okay, we obviously can't take everyone in DuPage counties, but the second grant that we wrote will help us help 2 fire stations, so help spread it around. Elmhurst currently has it for their residents at City Hall, so this would be expanding that smoke detector, keeping that radioactive waste out of our landfill. So
I have a question about that, about the the sharps, you know,
Yes.
the needles. What about other medical supplies having to do with type 1 diabetes? So for example, I've got a son with that. And so we recycle absolutely everything we can, but and there's a ton of medical devices.
Yes, there are.
A ton. And they're not recyclable. And it's like awful. So is there a way we can combine something for type 1s?
So you're right. And so do you have those, does your son have those little things about this big?
The Dexcom.
Is that what it's called?
So there's a continual glucose monitor.
Yes, yes.
And the brand name is Dexcom.
Okay.
And then there's the insulin pump. And so then
Okay.
there's tubing, and then there's lots and lots of materials to inject all the medical devices. So everything comes with a ton.
I know,
Packaging
I'm still learning, so I would love, if you could do me a favor.
Yeah,
Could you give me a kit,
sure,
an empty one of everything,
totally.
so we can start? But so the sharps take the EpiPens and the sharps, okay, syringes, okay, those two things. Then when we have our special collections with the sheriff's office, he also takes the
testers,
the little testers. Yep, he takes those, which we get a lot of those.
Of course you do.
Yes. I mean, syringes are now 1 in 12 homes. So that's a lot of syringes to deal with. And more and more now are coming with medicine. So it's not just the proper disposal of the syringe.
Right.
It's
all these insulin pens and vials.
Insulin pens, and well, the EpiPens, you hope you never use it. So that's got medicine in it.
Yeah.
And then there's fertility
Sure.
with medicine in it. There's allergy stuff with medicine in it. So we've got 2 problems, right? Well, more than that, but 2 problems in 1 in 12 homes. So every time I learn something new, then we kind of work at it. But I tried to get Stericycle to help us with the whole thing, and Scarce isn't big enough to get them to help, you know. But if we approached it somehow, the county with a big
and you could even probably, I would guess, like partner up with endocrinologist offices, because like if you're going in for your appointment with your endo, you can bring it all in, and who knows, there could be, you know.
So some of them used to do that, and then they quit because of liability. But they did. We had some who were doing that. We were so grateful.
Yeah, it's just horrifying what's in our.
Yeah, but I tried this. I tried the hospitals before. I tried a lot of places, you guys, and it was just nuts. So when the sheriff said yes to us, that was the first countywide, community-wide. But again, we need more PR about it. So 1 in 12 homes, but if I see it, because we work with unused stuff with Project Cure, we have several avenues for unused sealed things that are sterile still. And I have had really good success getting those things to people in need. But the used and all that packaging. And then there's the styrofoam coolers that some medicine comes to people's homes. But does it come in the, So I have some science teachers who like those, but they can't use all of DuPage styrofoam coolers. So
Okay.
If you can get that to me, that would be.
It might be by photos.
However, yes, and the brand.
Sure.
Because then we can start with them.
Sure.
Sort of like the silicone, you know, how people using silicone covers for things and stuff. So tried to find out if it got not recycled. So called a company that was in the paper that had recycled it a long time ago. And they said, "Are you kidding?" People started sending us garden hoses. And it's sort of that thing that, you know, I think people are anxious to get something recycled. So if you take silicone, you might take this.
Sure.
I see how they get there.
Right.
They're not really dumping because it costs you money to send a hose to somebody. So they're trying their best to keep stuff out of the landfill, but and so all right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Kay, for coming, and always amazing things we learn from you. And thanks, Lynn, for your great suggestions. I think, Paula, can we make you part of our committee so we can get through the last couple
Sure,
of
absolutely.
Does anybody have any old business? Seeing none, hearing none. Any new business? Seeing none, hearing none. Without objection, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay, good stuff. Always good info.